I was sent this story about Representative Byron Donalds and his comments on Jim Crow a couple of days ago. And I didn't post it, but I'm glad that I didn't because I came across this article yesterday with people's reaction to the commentary. And the one that kind of stuck out to me was about Victor Newman, because there are some of those of a certain age who spent a lot of time with Victor and Nikki Newman. And this man's name will forever be Victor Newman. He will never be whatever his name is, but it's Victor Newman. But let's go over this situation and some of the commentary. Okay, during an event on Tuesday, Donalds discussed the Jim Crow era and heavily implied that the lives of Black people were better during this period due to intact nuclear families and more significant support for the Republican Party among Black Americans, blaming Democrats and social welfare policies for what he sees as the decline in the Black family. So, this take is so problematic and so obtuse. During the Jim Crow era, it didn't matter. And this is one of the things that Joy Reid was trying to really establish. It didn't matter if both parents were in the home during the Jim Crow era because there was so much violence and insecurity regardless, because these mobs of alabaster people could literally drag the people out of the home and unalive them. So it didn't matter if the family was intact because these alabaster people could make them be intact. It literally could happen that way. And the other thing that's irritating is, yes, the Republican Party was the party that Black people used to go towards because that is the party that did work to emancipate the slaves. But let's be real. Let's be real and let's be historical. The Southern Democrats are not the Democrats of right now. The Southern Democrats did have a stronghold in America. They were the ones that were pro-slavery, but it's inaccurate and it's obtuse and it's purposely done that way to speak about it like it is because the parties did switch. And if you don't know history, you really have got to look up the history of it. And that's one thing that I do not like about these colored conservatives. They really want to continue to act like the parties didn't switch when in fact they would, because the Republicans of right now would have been the Southern Democrats of times past. Anyways, back to this article. Could your family have existed at all under Jim Crow? While Donalds has attempted to defend and clarify his comments, his words have been heavily condemned by Democrats and across Black Twitter. For example, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries condemned Donalds for his outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. Here's this tweet from Mr. Reynolds. He says, Byron Donalds has made the ignorant claim that Black people were better off under Jim Crow. The future Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, publicly shamed him on the floor of the House. Where did they get you clowns, including Tim Scott, from in 2024? Because these people simply want the head pass from the Republican Party, and I'm not sure why. And so many of us know history, and I'm glad that so many people are calling him out.
Were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when Black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Let's skip to Victor Newman. It says, in addition to being called out by prominent Black politicians, journalists, and Black Twitter, Donalds has now found himself being called out by an unexpected source, Eric Braden, Eric Braden, I couldn't remember his name, who everyone with a Black grandmother knows from his decades portraying Victor Newman on The Young and the Restless, tweeted his outrage over Donald's comment. Who is this Byron Donalds clown who, as a Black man, praised the Jim Crow era? With cats. Braden tweeted Thursday morning he recounted observing the Jim Crow South firsthand after he arrived in the United States in 1959 and argued that people like Donalds are too young to appreciate what it was like for Black people during this era. So he was continuing with his tweet saying, obviously too young to remember. Was he even born? How would he remember? He wasn't even born. He said, Black people then had family values. Where do they find these people? He said he was here during this time. He had just come to America in 1959. So he is not having it. And Victor Newman continued to bring the heat for Donalds and other conservatives in the comments. Like this woman, he came for Lana Hamby. She says, I was born in 1957 and lived in Ohio and went to a mixed school, and Black families did have family values and most have fathers in the home. Byron Donalds is a good man and his family has lived through this and he knows what he is talking about. And Victor Newman says, I came here in 1959 and saw the enormous struggle. I boxed in the ghetto of Compton and had friends who were Black fighters, played soccer at Jackie Robinson Stadium every Sunday. So don't tell me about all those intact, happy families that were supposedly ruined by welfare. He says it's blatant and it's insulting. And I'm glad that this white man is coming in because he was there, he saw it firsthand, and he doesn't have to do this revisionist history. And I don't even know what people like Donalds is looking to accomplish by acting like things were better than they were. Despite his missteps, Donalds remains one of the country's most prominent Black Republicans. He is reportedly on the former president Donald Trump's short list of potential VPs, so we can expect to see more of him. Oh my God, this is the reason why he's acting up. The exchange with him and Joy Reid was amazing. She really tried to keep him on topic and answering the questions, just answering the question. But he does this filibuster thing where he has to fluff up his answer. And you could see the irritation in her. She was irritated because he wouldn't just come out and answer the question. He had to run 3 laps first. And you could see her trying to pinpoint it. But what I like about her segment that she did, she posted his whole commentary so you could see what he says, because he is on this tour where he's trying to clean it up. But you can't clean this up because there was no security. No, it didn't matter that both parents were in the household during this era. It doesn't matter because families were still insecure because we didn't have full human rights during this time. Families could literally still be snatched apart. So who is living this happy-go-lucky life simply because there's 2 families when racism still exists, where we're still being paid way less than humans, other humans, all of that. This is not the era to look back on like, oh my God, it's so much better. That's the reason why I never got with the Make America Great slogan, Make America Great Again slogan, because I happen to be a Black woman. So when was the time that was great for being both Black and a woman in this country? Both of them put together. I have never gotten an answer to that question. And if anybody knows the answer, tell me, when was the time frame that was great for being both Black and a woman in this country to where people want to go back to it? Let me know, because I'm not going back, but I want to know the answer to that. All right, check out the video with him and Joy Reid. If you are here on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, I'm about to just squish it in. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
Some recent comments by Florida Congressman Byron Donalds have been condemned by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the Congressional Black Caucus, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison, and the president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, just to name a few. In those comments at an event designed to help Republican outreach to Black voters in Philadelphia earlier this week, Congressman Donalds made what certainly seemed like positive comments about the Jim Crow era. And he claims his critics are missing the context of what he said. So here's the context.
I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Wow.
But I'm gonna tell you this, growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to my son.
Wow.
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries, it's Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
I am joined now by Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you for being here. We played that lengthy segment. That is what you posted on your social media. The part of what you said that people take issue with is this line, which I'm going to read back to you again. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative-minded, but black people voted conservatively. But it is that during Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's what people have taken issue with. What are they missing?
Frankly, what's really happened is that you have, Democrats, and you have the Biden campaign, and some of the media want to twist my words for political purposes. The overarching issue is talking just about black families and why you're seeing a trend of black people leaning towards Republicans in this election cycle and probably in election cycles to come. And part of that, is that when you're raising families, raising kids, et cetera, you're now thinking about all of the public policy issues, all of the economic issues, all of the education issues. And that's leading people to have divergence in political thoughts. That was the only point. The stuff that comes up about Jim Crow and twisting my words, saying I was being nostalgic or saying that Jim Crow was good for black people, that's all political spin. It's a lie. It's gaslighting. And that's truly unfortunate.
So here's the challenge, Congressman. You started out talking about your family, talking about your mom, talking about being raised, and you on your own brought up Jim Crow. In fact, you said Jim Crow 3 times for emphasis. It wasn't the media or the Democrats or gaslighters who brought up Jim Crow. It was you. You brought up Jim Crow. So why did you use Jim Crow specifically as your reference? You did that. No one else did that. You did it.
Oh, I did. We were having a conversation, just talking as, black people in Philadelphia. But if you're going to use the chronological timeline of America before the Great Society and Lyndon Johnson's time period, you had, unfortunately, the Jim Crow era in America. During that time period, the marriage rates of black Americans was significantly higher than any other time since then in American history. So it is a divergence if you're talking about marriage rates in the black community. They have plummeted. And what we've seen recently in America, which is a very good thing we should all celebrate, is that the marriage rates in the black community are rising again. That's good for black families. That's definitely good for black children. It's something I want to see. I'm quite sure you want to see it as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. Jim Crow lasted roughly from 1867 after the Civil War to 1968. Is there a specific period between 1867 and 1968 that you thought was this golden era for black families, or a time that was good for black families?
Joy, I never said that. And see, this is where the gaslighting
I'm going to read what you said.
All I was talking about was the marriage rates.
Stop. No,
Joy,
that's not what you said. Let's play what you said.
Play
what he said. Play what he said.
Families. You're saying I said it was the golden era. I never said that.
I'm going to play what you said.
I said that it was better for black families. I never said that. I said
play what he said.
Play what I
said.
Play
what he said.
During Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people are always a bit conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are.
Okay, so now I'm going to go back. You said during Jim Crow, the black family was together. What was the authority of the black father in the black family during Jim Crow?
Well, listen, under Jim Crow, obviously, black people were under great persecution, unfortunately, by Southern Democrats and the Democrat Party overall in the history of our country. That's the fact. And so, well, let me finish now, Joy. And so having the black man in the home was about first protecting the mom and protecting the kids. Incredibly important. It was the leadership in the home, which is incredibly valuable. And I think what we're witnessing, obviously, the last 30 years, definitely through my generation, is black fathers being at home is incredibly important for the success of black children going forward. And it's not just a black thing, that's everybody. Fathers in home help to breed success for kids moving forward. That is a great thing for our country. That's something that has been proven throughout time. So what I'm talking about is not the golden era of Jim Crow. That's ridiculous. I would never say that. And that is the gaslighting that I'm standing up to, because that's what Hakeem Jeffries, the Biden campaign, Jamie Harrison and the like are trying to bring up. And unfortunately, the media has followed suit with misleading headlines, and that's wrong.
Now I'm going to talk. Do I have a chance? Good. Now, you talked about the black father being in the family, being able to protect the family. First, I want to read just for our audience the definition of Jim Crow, just so we all know what we're talking about. Jim Crow laws were a collection of state and local statutes that legalized racial segregation. They existed essentially from the post-Civil War era. They were meant to marginalize African Americans by denying them the right to vote, hold jobs, get an education, and other opportunities. Those who attempted to defy Jim Crow laws often faced arrest, fines, jail sentences, violence, and death. Now I want to talk about something that happened during this era. You said that what you were talking about was the presence of the black father in the home to protect his wife and family. In 1943, in the state that you represent, in Florida, a young man named Willie James Howard, who was 15 years old, was lynched. During Christmas of 1943, Willie Howard sent cards to all of his coworkers at the Van Priest dime store in Live Oak, Florida. Unlike the other cards, Willie's card to Cynthia Goff, a white store employee, revealed a youthful crush. His greeting expressed hope that white people would someday like black people and concluded, "I love your name, I love your voice. For SH, sweetheart, you are my choice." After reading the card, Cynthia's father, Phil Goff, brought two friends to the Howard home and demanded to see Willie. Despite his mother's pleading, the men dragged Willie away and then kidnapped Willie's father, James Howard, from work. The men drove the two Howards, to the embankment of the Suwannee River, bound Willie's hands and feet, stood him at the edge of the water, and told him to either jump or be shot. Willie jumped into the cold water below and drowned while his father was forced to watch at gunpoint. Willie's dead body was pulled from the river the next day. You said that during the Jim Crow era, the importance of having a black man in the home was to protect his family and to protect his wife. I actually spoke with somebody who lived through Jim Crow. Her name is Merle Evers Williams. And Merle quoted to me a man named Charles Silverman, who wrote in Crisis in Black and White, that in 1890, the year that the Mississippi Constitution was written, the policy of crushing out the manhood of the Negro citizens was to be carried out with success. So the man in the home during Jim Crow had no rights, could not protect his wife from rape, could not protect his son from lynching. So again, why would you quote that era and say that at that time, the family all being in the home together was something we should think of as a good thing?
Well, first of all, Joy, the story you bring up and you're bringing up is a tragedy, one of the great tragedies of the Jim Crow era.
I'm asking
this is why those policies were they were disgusting and distasteful. All I
So
was
that
talking
era,
about, Joy,
what was the
marriage
benefit of a
rate
man in the family? Again, sir, I'm sorry,
Joy,
I let
am
you
I allowed
talk
to
for a
talk,
long
or are
time.
you gonna
Sorry,
talk over
I
me?
only,
I'm
no,
just-
talk over you. You've gotten a chance
I'm
to
trying
speak
to
a lot,
respond to
Congressman.
what you
You're going to
brought up,
answer
Joy, and
my
now you won't
question
let
now
me
and
do
not
that.
filibuster.
That's
This is
what
the
I'm
question
trying
you
to
want.
answer, Joy, but
This
now
is
you're
the
cutting
question
me
you
off.
need to answer.
That's what I'm trying to
Black
answer.
men,
That's what
hold
I'm
on.
trying to answer, Joy.
Give me a
Are you
second.
going to let
Take
me
a
do
breath.
that? Are you
Take
going to let
a
me do it?
breath.
I would love
If
to
a
do it.
black man could
I would
not
ask you to do the same.
protect, it's my show. If a black man, a black father, could not protect his wife, his son, or himself from lynching and violence, how is him being in the home mean that that is an era that was better for the black family, or that we should think of as a good thing?
First of all, Joy, I never said that it was better for black people in Jim Crow. I have never said that. And even my own words say that. If you're talking about the importance of black fathers in the home, or frankly, all fathers in the home, it is always for the betterment of children, to have leadership, yes, for safety. So having two people in the home to help provide the economic needs for those children so the family can succeed. That is a wonderful thing. We should always get back to that, not to Jim Crow. And this is the point of the gaslighting and the lying that is occurring with what I said. Don't try to impose the fact that the marriage rates were better in the higher, I want to be clear, higher in the Jim Crow era to mean that I think Jim Crow is great. That is a lie. That is gaslighting. I would never say such a thing, which is why the Jim Crow era was destructive of black people.
You brought it up. You're the one who brought it up.